What's up, everybody? James Bushell here, and I'm back at you with another video. I am joined by two guests today as we talk about our review for the 8th episode of Season 6, No One. Of course, I'm joined by Moejii Osman and Kyle's Fukin Chickens. I'll let them introduce themselves. KFC, go ahead.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for having me here, James. My name is Kyle. I have a YouTube channel called Kyle's Fukin Chickens. I mainly do Game of Thrones stuff. Y'all can call me KFC. Let's get it.
Moejii.
What's up, everyone? It's Moejii. It's the King of the North, and I am here with two of my friends, James Bushell and Kyle. We got a good show for you guys. Let's review, baby.
So yeah, let's get this going. We're gonna start with potentially, maybe the most inconsequential. Like, I didn't find it offensive, but I didn't, it was kind of like whatever. Was Meereen, and of course what happens in Meereen this episode is we have Tyrion and Varys saying their goodbyes as Varys says he's going to leave. As we, it was funny because I'll give a shout to LT Giles earlier yesterday at a Q&A. He said that he still believed that Varys was going to be the one to kill Pycelle and Kevin Lannister. And I said, well, if they're going to do that, Varys has got to leave really soon to get back to King's Landing. And lo and behold, he's leaving. So yeah, I think we can make some foreshadowing out of that. It was a cool scene. It was had a little bit of emotional moment there between Tyrion and Varys, but it is what it is. And then after that, we have the scene where we have Tyrion, Grey Worm, and Missandei making some jokes, and after they have a little bit of levity and smile or whatever after Grey Worm cracks his joke, we see the barrels, or we see the barrels of fire getting shot into Meereen as we see the Slavers Alliance. We see their ships coming into Slaver's Bay, and then of course we see as the Unsullied are walking through the halls and getting ready to fight someone potentially, we see Dany come in for 2 seconds, and that's the end of that scene. So, Kyle, what did you think about the events that transpired in Meereen this episode?
I don't have a ton of thoughts, honestly. Meereen's probably been the least interesting storyline for me this season, and everybody knows I'm a pretty positive guy. But, we didn't get Tyrion for 2 episodes. Happy to see him again. I felt like he hasn't done much this season, but I was really happy to see Dany back kind of arrive. Finally, her getting back to Meereen and Drogon going towards the fleet. That was pretty awesome. That's probably my favorite part of the whole Meereen episode. And overall, the conversation between Missandei, Tyrion, and Grey Worm was kind of just filler for me. But yeah, like I said, I always enjoy the humor in the show because it is a pretty tragic story overall. But it was okay. I could have done without it, but I was happy to see that Daenerys came back to Meereen.
I know I've been on, obviously, that Daario is the Harpy train, but I know that some people are going to point out that when Varys left, the Slavers Alliance came. So I know people are going to make some conclusions there, but I still believe Daario's the Harpy. But Moejii.
Meereen was a little bit underwhelming. We hadn't seen these characters for a couple episodes or one, and seeing Varys go on his secret mission was interesting. I want to know where that ends up. I want to know if Varys is going to Dorne or is he going back to King's Landing? Is he going to go follow the books and have him go to King's Landing? And spoiler territory, I won't bring up what he does. Or is he going to go to Dorne and possibly do another book story where it has to deal with other characters not yet introduced? I want to know what's going to go with Varys.
Mo, you can spoil all you want, buddy. This is a spoiler review. You can, if you want to, most of the people I know have read the books. So, but if you haven't read the books, maybe close your ears for a minute. What he's referring to is, in the books, we have a scene. It's the epilogue of Dance with Dragons, where Kevin Lannister's actually been kind of doing a good job keeping things put together, and as a repercussion from that, that ruins Varys' schemes. Or his, what's going on with Fagon. So he essentially kills Kevin Lannister with a crossbow bolt, and it shows Maester Pycelle dead with his head bashed in. Yeah, I think that's actually what's going to happen. Though, earlier in the season they kind of to me foreshadowed that it was going to be the Gregor, the Franken Mountain that was going to kill Pycelle and Kevin. But with Varys leaving, it very well might be him, as opposed to the Dornish plot. I think you're talking about that they do maybe a Fagon plot through Dorne.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to go that route. But we'll see. What do you guys think in terms of Varys going back to King's Landing? We'll start with Kyle.
Yeah, you know what? Like you said, spoiler alert. I think earlier in the season, I thought it could have been Qyburn because we got all the little bird stuff, and I think that was probably a red herring because Qyburn's more so going to help Cersei with the whole Wildfire Franken Mountain thing. But I think that Varys coming back to King's Landing to do that, and I know we don't have that many episodes left with the 13 episodes left. I think that Varys is still going to come back, and it would be a really poignant moment for him to do that. I really enjoyed that moment in the books, and I'm still hopeful we get that. So for my wishful thinking, I'm hoping it's Varys. And I mean, where else could he really go? Like Moejii said, possibly Dorne, and because we haven't seen Dorne pretty much all season, and I'm thinking we're probably going to get them in episode 10. Probably going to get a little bit from them. So, but I think it's a little bit late for Fagon, in my personal opinion, and I think that Varys is probably heading back to King's Landing.
Mo, what do you think?
Yeah, it could be a little late for Fagon, but you never know. They could be trying to introduce some new characters. Maybe for the end game, they need this plot for Daenerys going back to Westeros. She's gonna need to get her feet wet somewhere, and why not do it with a character like Fagon? But it does look like they are setting us up for a Kevin Lannister death scene, something gory. He was a pure dickhead to her today. Last night's episode, he completely shut down Cersei, and you can tell she wants him eliminated. And Pycelle, they've hated each other for years now, ever since she used to treat him like crap, back when he fell out of favor with her when Tyrion threw him in the dungeon. So Pycelle and Kevin look like they're on the chopping block very, very soon.
Yeah, as for me, what I think is going to happen is I do think they're not going to go with Fagon plot. I think they're just going to streamline it. They're going to have Varys kill Kevin, give him some pro-Dany speech, and then we're going to be seeing Dany just kind of come to Westeros, and they could just have Dorne team up with Dany regardless of there being a Fagon plotter anyway. They could just have it as the Sand Snake saying, what was her name? Elia Martell was married to Rhaegar Targaryen. She's a Targaryen. We'll team up. I think they might even go that route. But yeah, as for the Meereen scenes, like I said, it was kind of whatever. I was fine with it. Like I didn't find it offensive. Though we'll just move on. We'll move on from Meereen. Unless you guys have anything else to say, we will move on to King's Landing. Unless anyone else had anything to say.
No, I guess, Mo, did you want to add a little bit about the pyramid scene at all, homie?
We didn't talk about her grand entrance, which was kind of interesting. Basically, the fighting is heavily going on in Meereen. We're seeing that the Masters have landed and they brought their naval fleet. There's going to be some sort of big war going on here, and basically the Dragon Queen hasn't shown up until the very end, and Drogon flies off. You would think that she would need her dragons to fight off the Masters. I'm interested to see how that will end up, what they decide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, with this whole Slavers Alliance, fleet, I'm pretty positive that Yara and Theon is going to aid in the battle when they come in with the Ironborn fleet, and that is what's going to help win their favor with Daenerys. I believe that. I'm assuming we all kind of think that that's what's probably going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, all right. Well, we will move on to King's Landing. Of course, what happened here in King's Landing is that we see Cersei, essentially, she's being summoned by the High Sparrow to come back to the Sept of Baelor, and she's not having any of that. She comes up with Mountain, with Frank and Gregor, Robert Strong, who I believe is like her rage personified. If she was him, this is what she would be doing if she was capable of doing it. And Yeah, they said if you don't come, there's going to be violence. She chose violence, and one sparrow is he lost about 8 pounds. That's about how much a human head weighs. So aside from that, we have the next scene where Cersei is going to the throne room. They're having this sort of meeting, this assembly, and of course we get the news. And I have to give props to Christina the Sphinx. I know she's listening, for predicting that Tommen and the High Sparrow would make trials by combats obsolete and illegal, and not you can't demand one. And after I thought about it, when we were talking about last night, because people were outraged that the High Sparrow would go against the law, and I said, this was after you left, Christina. I was trying to give you some quasi props. That laws do evolve, over time. So I can buy into it. Though it wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but I can buy into it, I guess. But to me, when the High Sparrow is going to reap the repercussions, because you're going to strip Cersei from her ace in the hole, and we know Cersei is mad, and that she is going to get to a point of desperation because you took her ace in the hole away from her, and King's Landing is going to burn via wildfire. So that being said, Mo, we'll start with you this time. What did you think about the whole events that transpired in King's Landing?
Very excellent. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the show. Was pretty much everything that happened in King's Landing. We got a lot of information down here. In the beginning, you can pretty much see when Qyburn comes in and tells Cersei that the High Sparrow has requested your attendance at the Sept of Baelor, that Cersei wasn't expecting that. She's been lounging around in the Red Keep for God knows how long now, and she doesn't really think she needs to appear in front of the High Sparrow. When she goes down and sees that Lancel has now been brought to escort her, it's basically telling Cersei that she is nothing but a passenger. She's nothing but a commodity in King's Landing. She will do whatever the High Sparrow asks of her, and she's finally decided now that she's going to make her move. She's going to use her wild card, and her wild card is the mountain. But technically you could say the ace up the sleeve is the mountain, and the wild card is the wildfire. Basically, she decided right then and there she's going to defy his orders and do what she wants to do. When Lancel tells her, this will be violence, and she decides on violence, that's her ripping up any bit of authority she thinks the High Sparrows have. And this is what I believe was the moment that the High Sparrow decided, we are going to take away the mountain from her by making trial by combat outlawed.
Right. Kyle, what do you have to say about the events that happened in King's Landing?
I'm a huge history buff, and I was looking into some. I did a preview for the episode No One, and I was looking into the etymology of words, and No One actually in Old Middle English used to be pronounced noon, and it actually signifies the ninth hour when Jesus was crucified, and it kind of struck a chord with me, and I was thinking that. In the particular passage in Matthew 27:45, it's darkness laid over the land, and Jesus was asking why he was forsaken. And basically, for me, basically what I think is going to happen is darkness is definitely coming over King's Landing, and it's going to be in the form of wildfire or the Franken Mountain. Just like Jesus was getting all the small folk behind him, and High Sparrow was using Tommen to get the small folk behind him. I think that Cersei sees that, and it's going to be like a crucifixion of all the people that oppose her in the form of. She's definitely going to burn King's Landing, and they're pointing to that. Moejii made some great points. I don't have too much more to say other than I believe that shit is going to absolutely hit the fan, and Cersei's backed into a corner, and we do know that she doesn't like to lose. And when this kind of stuff starts to happen, we do know that Cersei makes rash decisions, and when Cersei makes rash decisions, shit really hits the fan. So, and we've seen her multiple times reference people that were going to hurt her children or come at her, that she would burn cities to the ground, that she would burn her enemies and stuff like that. So, I think that little mystery that they were talking about was most definitely they found a big cache of wildfire, and I think that's where they're going with that. So I thought it was a smart move though by the High Sparrow to take away the Franken Mountain, but we do know that Cersei has always had another plan up her sleeve.
Right. In terms of me, I'm hoping that there's something else going on here, because I'm not really too keen on the idea that essentially Tommen is condemning his own mother to death, and Kevin, he's like not really helping matters either. So, I'm hoping that there may be something else going on here that we just can't see yet. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of in wait and see mode. I am interested to see how it's going to turn out. But one thing is for certain. I mean, after you take away the Franken Mountain, and we're going to see what sort of desperation you put Cersei in. And when you put Cersei in a desperate situation, it's probably not good for anybody. But yeah, so we will move on from King's Landing, unless Moejii have something to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, this was brought up to my attention that I was reading on Reddit. Basically, Tommen has condemned his mom to death. But the other thing that this little coward, little puppy dog has done is if Cersei is put on trial by the seven Septons, her and Loras are, that if they not only talk about her relations with Lancel, but we're forgetting they're gonna bring up her relations with Jaime, and if that happens, then it's outed that Tommen and Joffrey and Marcella were all bastards. Then that means that the whole court of King's Landing will know that the rightful ruler is the Baratheon line. It is not Tommen. Isn't that horrible self-preservation by Tommen by making his mother go to trial? If she admits to this, that they're bastards, then the royal line of succession all gets corrupted.
That's why I said I hope there's something more going on here, because that's an excellent point. So that's all I got to say. It's an excellent point now. Kyle?
Christina has an excellent point. They can't confirm that, though. Like, I mean, how are they going to confirm it? That's the thing. I think it's an excellent point, but I just...
The book that Ned Stark found of the ancestral houses of Westeros that showed all the Baratheon children had black hair, blue eyes. The Lannisters, golden hair, green eyes, or whatever. That is their DNA. I don't want to...
I think that
this is definitely something to talk about.
I think that everyone that's going to personally see that, if you're right, Moejii, and that goes down, everyone that personally sees that is dead. Like, everyone that sees that go down, and that, I think Cersei's going to lock all those people in that room and burn every single fucking person in that room that hears that. And then she won't have a problem anymore. That's just, I don't know. It's something absolutely crazy. Cersei's going to do something way worse than the Red Wedding, in my opinion. Like, way worse. It's going to be bad.
Indeed. And it's actually got me a little intrigued of how this is all going to unfold in King's Landing. And I believe we're going to get that resolution in Episode 10, because obviously Episode 9 seems to be all about one thing. So yeah, we will move on to the Riverlands, and we'll kind of break it up into two sections here. We'll talk about the stuff that happened with Jaime, Edmure, and the Blackfish, and then we'll talk about the stuff that happened with the Hound. So yeah, of course, first we get Brienne meeting with Jaime, essentially negotiating a way to end this peacefully, saying that she wants to go in, talk to the Blackfish, see if he can, get him to agree to come north, and his troops won't be injured, won't be attacked. And then we see Brienne go into and talk to the Blackfish, who at first kind of scoffs at her. He reads the note and says, she is like her mother, but he still needs to do what he needs to do here, And I enjoyed the line, Jaime Lannister's coming to take this keep. Let him take it like everybody else has ever had in the world, essentially. And then, of course, we get the great scene with Edmure and Jaime that kind of was pretty close to what happened in the books, despite the Cersei thirst that still exists. But aside from that, it was pretty close to the books. where he threatens Edmure to essentially he needs to go in and get his keep back that way and raise the gates that way. We're not going to toss his baby over the walls of Riverrun. And then we see Brienne escaping from Riverrun when Edmure orders the gates to be opened, and we see the Blackfish does not come with her, and he essentially says he's going down fighting, and then we get the Lannister troop say that they have killed the Blackfish. So they killed the Blackfish off screen, which I was not a fan of. But we were going to go with Kyle. Everything that happened in Riverrun, what did you think?
I really enjoyed everything that happened in Riverrun this episode, except for obviously the exception of the Blackfish death off screen. But I was really happy that we got the conversation between Edmure and Jaime about how he was going to catapult the baby into Riverrun. Not something that I enjoy, but it was definitely a part of the Siege of Riverrun in the Feast for Crows that I enjoyed. I enjoyed reading that part when Jaime, is really asserting himself. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, Jaime's one of my favorite characters in the books, and I can kind of see a clear line where they're going with Jaime's storyline now. So I felt that, for me, the scenes really paid off. And fuck Edmure, man. That guy's just an asshole, pardon my language. I mean, he's just screwed up everything pretty much, and he's just useless in my personal opinion. But overall, I mean, I really enjoyed the Podrick and Bronn scene together. Like I said, we've really been getting some awesome humor this season. I thought that was awesome. Bronn, is telling him this, tell him his stance, and then he slaps him across the face. He's actually trying to teach him, and Bronn is a good fighter, as we know, so that was really cool. But overall, my favorite moment was definitely all the Blackfish scenes where he was just like, you guys are stupid, listen to me, this is where I was born, let's try to, if you guys listen to Edmure, the Kingslayer is going to take, he's basically the Kingslayer's orders. So I felt it was, I enjoyed all the scenes overall. This is probably my favorite part of the episode other than the Hound stuff. So I really enjoyed the Jaime Blackfish stuff.
Isaiah, I just want to ask you the question, how do you feel about, because, in the books, obviously, it's not the same, Edmure is not the same, he lets the Blackfish escape, and then he essentially goes to Casterly Rock with his wife and child. How'd you like how they kind of changed it? And he says, catch the Blackfish and put him in irons. How'd you feel about that?
I didn't particularly like that. Obviously, I mean, Blackfish is a badass legendary character, and I mean, he escapes in the books. And like I said, I feel like they did it this way for a certain reason, because Jaime's going to head back to King's Landing for episode 10. I have a prediction that, the Valancourt stuff is going to go down in episode 10. So I feel that it made sense. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I feel like that's why they did it in that particular way, because they're really trying to set up Jaime to get the fuck out of there, pardon my language.
Right. Moejii.
Yeah, I liked some of the Riverlands scenes. I thoroughly enjoyed Edmure and Jaime's little parlay. Brienne and Jaime's parlay was interesting, as she informed him that he had an oath to Catelyn Stark at one point and should allow the Blackfish and Tully forces to accompany her up north. It seems that nobody believes in Jaime's word anymore. You can't doubt them for not trusting him. But Jaime's one of my favorite characters, and he's changed a lot. It's an injustice how they portrayed him on the show compared to the books, where his character in the books is so much more intricate. But in the show, you can still see him thinking and having empathy. When it comes to Cersei, though, there's nothing you can take away. There's nothing you can dissuade his mind. He wants Cersei, and D&D are completely letting you know that incest is very real. But I enjoyed his parlay with Edmure when he explained to him that he has a child now at the Twins, and he will catapult that child and do anything for love. It's reminiscent of what he said to Bran before he threw him out the window when he said, the things I do for love. He did the exact same thing here with Edmure, the things I do for love, by telling him that. And the funny thing is, we don't know if he knows if Edmure actually has a child. It's all speculation. We don't know if Rosalind had a child. Are you trying to tell me he put a seed in her on his wedding night? That's very interesting because if he lied to Edmure, it was a brilliant maneuver. It was a brilliant, brilliant maneuver and surrender the castle. And then the way that the Tully forces just completely disrespected the Blackfish and said when Edmure came to the castle door, my lord is at the gates, lower the gates, and Blackfish is telling him, you're an idiot. That's not Edmure. That's the word of Jaime coming in. So I didn't like him dying off screen. You could see Jaime was a little disappointed when that happened. He never wanted the Blackfish to die. But it is what it is. I would have preferred him to go north, but it is what it is. I like some scenes, and that's what it is.
Yeah, for me, it was interesting. I pointed out last night that the whole the scene from the trailers that they kept showing where Podrick got choked out, and people were like, "Oh man, speculating so much stuff with Podrick." Yeah, it's one of those like fake trailer, fake out moments where in reality it's just Bronn fucking around, and that scene was cool. It was cool seeing them together, cracking some jokes. But like I said before, the Edmure scene was cool. I even said in our group chat with the Hypes Watch, I was like, all right. I was like, Jaime better frickin' say he's gonna catapult that damn baby over the walls of Riverrun, and he did. But then right after that, he mentioned the line, the Cersei thirst line, but it's okay. I'm there. It is what it is. It's the way they've done it on the show. I'll just overlook it to an extent. Now, one thing that was interesting to me was the line where he said, women like Cersei would burn, or do you know the exact line, Kyle, that he said, where he said like, or Mo, where he said like Cersei, like that she'd be willing to burn down a city to get what they want, essentially. Am I right about that?
Yep, that was a little Easter egg that they threw into us. If people noticed, Jaime said she will burn.
Cersei has made 3 specific references in her own story. One about Myrcella and the Dorn with the Viper necklace, and then and when they get the threat. One to Tommen in the Gift in last season, and then she also says it, I believe, this season at one point with Tommen. So she's referenced 3 or 4 times in the show. She said burning cities to the ground or burning.
And then Jaime referenced it here. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we know where that's leading to. And I said last night, I said it seems like D&D has an issue with like these older military-minded, like gruff men. Like they killed off Barristan, you killed off Blackfish, and they killed off Stannis. I don't know if it's true, if I'm just like
No, it's they don't like smart older characters that make sense. They don't like logical, smart heroes. They like the instant reward mini heroes, the young guys like Jon or Bran, or Jaime even, but they don't like the authoritative older father figure that's there to give counsel and advice. They'd rather the character make his own decisions and live and die by either a good decision or a bad decision to say, oh, you see, he could do it on his own. He's a hero. They don't want to give credit to an older figure giving advice. That's why the Blackfish isn't going north to help Jon. If they have the Blackfish there giving advice to Jon and it works, people think all the credit goes to the Blackfish, when really both can shine in the limelight.
Well, I do think they had a wasted opportunity here. I mean, I think you could have just easily had the Blackfish go north with Brienne, become a great general to Sansa, a great mentor to Jon, a great advisor. But and if you're gonna kill him, I wish they would have had him like surrounded by 8 Lannister soldiers or whatever, and he kills like 5 of them, and in the last 3, finally stab him and he dies. At least give him the respect, give the character of the Blackfish the respect of an on-screen death.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
And somebody just said in the chat, the Blackfish helped Robb Stark, the King in the North. Why wouldn't he help his niece Sansa, his great niece Sansa? I mean, dying at Riverrun just doesn't make sense. Okay, great, it's your ancestral castle. Live to fight another day, and maybe one day you can reclaim the castle. You don't have to just suicide yourself.
Right. He's just one of my favorite characters, and I wish we could have got more of him. Yeah, it is what it is. So I think we can. You have a point, Kyle?
Yeah, just the conversation between Brienne and Jamie. She wants to give back the sword, and then Jamie, she's like, Jamie says, "No, it's yours," and then Brienne says, "I still think you're an honorable man, Jamie." And as we see as she's leaving after the Blackfish dies, I don't think that Jamie wanted the Blackfish to die necessarily, even though he's doing the Siege of Riverrun. I don't think he wanted all those people to die, but I think that it struck a chord with him, and I think it's gonna affect Jamie when he gets back to King's Landing, because he's gonna remember the conversation that him and Brienne had in the bathtub, and they had in that tent when Cersei's lighting shit on fire, and I think that he's gonna have to make the most difficult decision. And I actually want to talk about the word Valancourt in French. Valor in French means brave. It means brave heart, to have to do something brave. So Valancourt, essentially, if you take it over, is being brave, having the courage in your heart to do something that perhaps you don't even want to do. So I think that Jamie will kill Cersei in the final episode, and I think that the Brienne conversation was kind of sealed it for me.
Yeah, I personally have been on the Jamie as the Ballancar train for a while. I don't know if Mo agrees with that, but that's been my train of thought for a good minute.
I was on that it was Loras Tyrell for a long time. I completely skipped over Clegane Bowl. I ruled that out completely. I ruled out Tyrion completely. The number 1 seed was Loras, and number 2 seed was Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they made it a point to say that he came out second, clutching onto her feet coming out. But I don't know. So I always thought that he was going to be the Ballancar. But we will move on to the second section of the Riverlands. We have the Hound in all of his comedic glory. So we have the remnants. We have like 4 guys sitting in a circle. They're having some banter. Yeah, I had an issue with kind of the one guy showing him how to dance, and then he slips his fingers in his his stinker and then sniffs it. I thought that was kind of whatever. Like, they didn't need to have it, but it is what it is. The Hound comes in and chops those dudes up. And he had a good line here when he was killing the guy. These are going to be your last words, and the guy says, "Cunt."
You're a shit at. He says, "You're a shit at dying. You're shit at dying."
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah. So that was. I thought that was pretty funny. But then of course after that we have the Hound running into Thoros of Myr, Beric Dondarrion, and the hanging scene that I thought was going to be in a different context, but here it is. We have the 2 guys and Lem Lemoncloak, who, I mean, they might as well not even have named him Lem Lemoncloak. They should have just, called him Random Guy Number 1 or whatever. But yeah, we have the Hound negotiating with the Brotherhood. The Hound says there would have been a day when I would have killed all 7 of you to get to just kill these 2 fuckers or whatever he says. And but he essentially acquiesces and he agrees to just hang them. He kicks the blocks away from the two fellows, while Beric kicks away the other one. Of course, I know me and Kyle were both we were the champions of the Lady Stoneheart hype. I made plenty of videos. I made a preseason prediction video. I made another one after the Walder Frey scene. And yeah, seeing Beric really dashed my hopes. I know Kyle he'll talk about it in a minute. He still has some hopes, but I mean, seeing Beric really crushed it for me, obviously, because he's still alive. Catelyn's body would be too decomposed at this point. It'd probably be a skeleton. So I don't know. Maybe they'll change it up. Maybe they'll have 2 resurrected people at the same time by one priest. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I was disappointed, but the scene was still interesting to me because I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Sandor and the Brotherhood without banners. There was conversation in the scene about they know what's happening in the north. They know about the White Walkers and that they're going to be fighting for the Lord of Light against the White Walkers. And I find it interesting that Sandor, the person who despises fire, is now going to be in league with the Lord of Light. That I found that kind of ironic to me. But yeah, so we'll start with Kyle on this scene. What did you think about everything that occurred with Sandor in this episode?
Well, I think everybody pretty much knows that Sandor is my favorite character. So I mean, I enjoy all the scenes he's in. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get Lady Stoneheart. Like I said, I've been championing her. I've made like 5 or 6 different videos just on the clues that have been left in this season. And I'm still gonna put my neck out there, and I'm still gonna say it's quite curious how many times they've mentioned Catelyn this season. Maybe perhaps we get some sort of shocker in episode 10. I'm not gonna rule it completely out yet, but I really enjoyed all the scenes overall. I thought, there was some brilliant stuff like the Hound saying, "You're a shit at dying," and this is the last words you're going to say before you're going to die. And then him trying to negotiate with Beric on how many people he can kill. He's like, "I'll take 2. Oh, let me take a hand." And I thought that was like a really brilliant scene and very clever, all the stuff that they did in that scene. But I don't know, man. Like when he's taking a piss in the river, I almost thought at one point that something could happen there, and then he could turn around and something could happen. But I just felt like Beric wasn't really a leader, you know what I mean? I just didn't feel like they had a clear leader, so I still have some hope for Lady Stoneheart. I know everybody's gonna hate me for that. I'm still gonna leave my heart open for that, but overall, this is probably my favorite stuff of the episode. I was very, very shocked to see Beric though, and like I said, I'm on the Lady Stoneheart train. I was a little bit pissed off at first, but we'll see what happens where it goes. Something more has got to happen there. Like I said, there's some curious stuff that happens. So I feel like they gotta. I don't know where it's gonna go. That's my opinion.
I'm speculating that the reason why they're bringing Beric back is because that someone is going to die and then take that role. I think I don't know who it is. Who is it going to be? But I think they brought Beric back because they're like, okay, we're not doing Lady Stoneheart in the book sense. We might do a different Stoneheart thing, and eventually we'll have someone die and Beric give them the Lord's kiss to resurrect him. I don't know who it's going to be. Like I said, I've heard people speculate. I've heard people speculate Blackfish. I've heard people speculate Sandor. But we'll have to see how it all turns out. Because it's interesting. Tully. Well, it depends if they do Tully funeral rites because they burn his body. They put him on a boat under the river and they burn his body. So I think that would kind of how would that work with resurrecting him? You know what I'm saying? But Mo, what do you think?
Starting off with the mini rampage, I like the bits and pieces of the gore, him chopping the guy's head off. Those guys were just idiots. And basically, I think the scene, the idiotic scene that they did with them talking about how to kiss a girl was just to show that these guys got to die. Here is a gore scene for you, audience members. Pow, 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 pow. Chop his head off. And then when we get to him meeting Beric, the second I saw Beric, there is nobody on this fandom that is a bigger Lady Stoneheart champion than Moejii. I have been proclaiming Lady Stoneheart was coming for months now, and as soon as I saw Beric, I knew that the dream was dead. Martin Luther King does not live here. It was done. I was devastated. Thoros and Beric, having them back, it's not like it was back in season 3 when Arya was there. You wanted to see Lady Stoneheart come in and do her own justice, and they didn't do it, and they disappointed us. And I don't know what Beric is going to be, but anybody who believes Stoneheart is coming, you need to just dead all those speculations now. It is over. They are not doing that character for some reason. But getting back to the Hound, I loved him deciding on negotiating. It reminded me of Kyle's favorite scene where the 2 fucking chickens. I think I'll have 2 fucking chickens. He told Beric, I think I'll have 2 fucking Brotherhood without banners to hang. Because he wanted all 3 of them, and they told him they had some negotiation. Well, no, Sandor, you can have 2, and you're lucky we're even giving you that. And he says, he gets his axe out and he's about to axe murder them. And they say, no, you're gonna do it you're gonna do it the right way. You're gonna do it the way the fire gods do it. We're gonna hang them. And they hang these guys, and you're wondering, how did these 3 ninjas kill that whole commune of hippies? These 3 guys. I mean, what was the point of bringing in Lemon Cloak? But whatever. They kill them off, and it was all right. It was all right.
Yeah, so, I just know that there was just disappointment on me and Kyle's part. We don't like being wrong, that's for sure. But hey, maybe like Kyle said, maybe they're like I saw Pacquiao say, it's the show. Maybe they will have both at the same time because they've never really spelled out the rules of resurrection. Because I've always kind of thought like one priest, one resurrected person still alive. It's kind of how I viewed it. But maybe they'll do something different on the show.
Yeah. Oh, and good thing that we found out that there wasn't like we need to know why these three Brotherhood guys went rogue. Was there two factions of the Brotherhood without banners? Why did these guys decide to kill the hippie commune? We need to find that out. Are some of the Brotherhood without banners not liking Thoros and Barrick's rule? And I am. Go ahead, James.
I hope hopefully in a dialogue, like I said, see in episode 10 because episode 9 they won't show any of that. But hopefully in episode 10 there's some dialogue of what's happening with their faction or whatever. So
yeah,
Kyle, you have another point?
Yeah, my bad.
Oh.
My bad.
Sorry, Mom.
I was championing that the Hound would take over the Brotherhood without banners yesterday before the episode even aired, and boom, Barrick and Thoros asked him to join the group. Will he lead it eventually? I think so, guys.
Yeah, I kind of just want to touch on what Moejii had to say. He had some really interesting points, you know what I mean? Like, where are they going with the storyline? And, because we do see the three Brotherhood without banners. I mean, Barrick and them are hanging them, so they're not obviously part of their group. So it'll certainly be interesting if they left it open to chance that Lady Stoneheart could still be in it, like I said. And Pacquiao said in the chat, like, it's still a possibility. There was a leak online, but I'm not really going to talk about it, about perhaps someone with a hood. And apparently it's in this season. I'm not really going to talk about that because we don't really like to do that on this kind of thing. But I just want to add one final thing and a funny thing, and you guys know I like to be silly all the time, but remember when the Hound was eating the chicken at the fire and they were asking what he'd like to eat, and he's like, I prefer chicken, and he was like, he's eating his chicken. I just thought I would put that out there. I thought that was one awesome part in the episode when they're all sitting down and eating.
Indeed. All right, so we're gonna move on to the last region of this episode, and I believe this section here is kind of like the crux of how people kind of felt about the episode as a whole. If you didn't like what happened in Bravos, you'd like the episode. If you didn't kind of like what was going on or couldn't figure out what was going on, you probably didn't like it as much. So yeah, the first scene, obviously, I made the prediction, because I was championing Jaqen as the waif the whole week, but I said that it was possible that it is still just Arya, and that if Arya we see goes to Lady Crane, then I believe that is indeed just Arya, and of course we see right at the beginning that she goes to Lady Crane. So yeah, it defies some logic. I thought that if this was the case, then that Arya made a dumb decision in the previous episode, but I'll digress on that. Yeah, we see her hooking up with Lady Crane. Lady Crane's patching her up, gives her some milk of the poppy, and then we kind of fast forward to what happens at the end of this episode, where we see Arya and Lady Crane in like this room, and they hear a noise. Lady Crane goes out to investigate. Arya looks up and sees that Lady Crane is dead and that the waif is standing there. And then a chase ensues where Arya is able to jump out of a building with, a badly eviscerated stomach, and is able to run quite fast as she rolls down. They have this big chase scene where I thought that the waif looked like her running style looked exactly like the T-1000 from Terminator 2. And they're running through the streets, and Arya at one point crashes into some vendors and rolls down all the way down these large group of stairs. And then it seemed like to me that she was kind of baiting the waif because she purposely left the blood marks around the corner in the room where she was hiding out at. And then she pulls out needle, cuts the candle. I was hoping that we'd see this fight, but we didn't. Maybe it's because they want to leave some things up to interpretation about who's really who here at the end. And this last scene was confusing to me because with Jaqen, because why does Jaqen tell her that she truly became no one when she clearly states, no, I'm Lady Stark, and then he smiles. It was all confusing to me after we saw the waif's face in the Hall of Faces. I was kind of confused personally. I don't know if I just kind of missed something here or if there's something left to be interpreted. Well, Kyle, we'll start with you. What do you think about everything that happened in Bravos?
I'm actually going to throw this to Moejii James. Moejii James, he has some really interesting topics, and I'll just kind of sweep it up here. I think Moejii has the best thoughts overall on the Bravo stuff. Moejii, you want to jump in, Home Slice, because
Go ahead, Moejii.
I feel like you have the best kind of clear line on this. You're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
Moejii, you're muted.
I'm not gonna rag on this too much like I did last night on the Hypes Watch video. But, you know, basically she got stabbed, turned, and she basically, all she needed was a cat nap and milk of the poppy, and she's back fixed to get together again. Basically, Humpty Dumpty has been cleaned up after getting shattered on the ground. Some people called. It's unimaginative. But it works. It was Arya this whole time. It wasn't Jaqen playing Arya. It wasn't even what casual television viewers thought, which was the waif was Arya and vice versa, and it was the Tyler Durden thing. It was as basic, as simple as she got mortally wounded and she was helped. Basically, what they're saying is because of Arya's stupidity to be out in the open after one episode being in the dark and having Needle and looking like a little ninja Rambo, that basically on her own stupidity to get out of her cave and go out into the Braavosi streets, it's her own fault for getting stabbed because the waif was chasing her, which is logical. The waif would be chasing her, so what is she doing looking out for a ship to get her out of Braavos so quickly? She should have waited a little bit, but D&D. I regress. I love the fighting scene. I love this, like the fact that she tricked the waif. She basically set her up for a nice trap by having her follow her the whole way, putting the blood, smearing that on the wall, and having her follow her so that she could get her back in her little cave. And it was beautiful the way she cut the lights out with Needle and just played her like a fool and fought her in the dark the best way she knows how because she beat her in the dark. I think this could have been done a little bit better. I liked that scene though. I liked her tricking the waif. And then when she got back to the House of Black and White, we're supposed to believe that that face on the wall is the waif. Hell, it could be Lady Crane. We don't know who that mask is. We don't know who that face is, but one way or another, a face was added to the wall, and Jaqen looked like he wanted Arya to kill her, and she didn't, and he proclaimed her as no one. So, yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand why they didn't show the fight, because, you know, and why is Jaqen smiling? It seemed like to me like almost like they're setting up the ending that it was actually the waif that defeated Arya, and that Arya died, and that the Jaqen is happy because now the waif is now Arya and can do what, you know, maybe they had this plan all along where they needed Arya's face, but then they showed the face and it wasn't Arya's face, it was someone else's face. I don't know, I'm just confused by the whole damn thing. Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've done a couple videos on this, and the way I interpreted Arya's whole storyline was, you know, the Faceless Men have a simple set of rules, and in Taoism and Buddhism that I've studied quite frequently is that, you know, responsibility over your own emotions is a big thing, and the waif wasn't following that, and I think Jaqen knew that. She refers to herself as I multiple times, you know, you promised me and whatnot, but Arya's already been wearing so many different faces through her story, especially in the books. You know, we got Weasel, Cat of the Canals, we got Arya, we got many multiple characters, and I feel like maybe her storyline, when Jaqen says she's no one, he doesn't really mean that she's no one, but she's finally found herself, because in Taoism, Buddhism, you know, Tao means path, and I think that's generally what the Faceless Men are doing, is creating a path to really release yourself from fear. So I'm still a bit confused, but I understand why. I guess because technically, remember the third name that Arya gave to Jaqen was Jaqen, right? and Jaqen just killed a bunch of people, and Jaqen technically didn't die, right? And she took the name back. So I think this is kind of like a, hey, you know, you saved me once, I'll let you fucking do this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it works, I guess. She's coming back to Westeros. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
So I just want to know, like, okay, the ending. Jaqen's saying that she's truly no one. She says, "No, I am Lady Stark." Jaqen's smiling and just letting her go scot-free. I mean, there's no repercussions from this. Like,
I mean, what was the point of everything? I mean, was all this training for 2 years to find out that Arya needed to kill one of the faceless men or one of the faceless men recruits, which was the waif, to become no one? Was that the point? I don't know what Jaqen or the kindly man is saying to her by "you are no one now." She was never no one. She was Arya Stark of Winterfell.
I'll tell you what, man.
You know what's really interesting? You know what's really interesting is like I was thinking about all the different religions in the show, and they kind of all have their own champions, and we still don't know 100% what the faces meant want, right? I mean, we don't. I mean, there's still a big mystery behind it. I think we're gonna get more about them. I think we're gonna figure out more about them, but I think that. Why? Because it was really curious how Jaqen got into the story. Why was he in the block cells and all this stuff? We still don't know why that is. But I feel like Arya's whole storyline, and maybe she's an exception to the whole faceless man thing, is maybe she was like their Azor Ahai, like their really special person. And what Jaqen's purpose was to really get her to become Arya Stark, in a sense. And it doesn't make sense because you're supposed to become no one in the faceless men, but maybe that's what it is, man. Maybe we're supposed to be super confused.
You know what's weird? It's like this requires more like thought and analysis than Bran and the time paradox with Bloodraven. It's like that shouldn't be the case. But
you know what I'm saying though? It's like it almost feels like Jaqen was her antithesis to become Arya Stark. It was like he kept on pushing her to. He knew she was gonna do all these things, but he was like basically like, just fucking do it. Finally, just fucking do it, Arya. Just become Arya and get the fuck out of here. You know you're not gonna be a faceless man. Just fucking do it. You know, it's just like, okay, she finally accepts that she's Arya because she was all these different people before, and now
I would have liked Jaqen to at least sprinkle in at the end of that scene. We have a new task for you, and it's in Westeros, and it's it's gonna determine if you are still Arya Stark. And she like asks him, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "It has to do with your family." Like something crazy. I would have loved that. That would have resolved the Bravo scene for me. If Jaqen would have gave her some sort of explanation on what this 2 years of training was, and maybe even said, "We're going to send you on a mission now."
Me personally, after seeing, I mean, we haven't seen it in its entirety, but for seeing what happened at the House of Black and White, I just wish they would have like completely changed the story here, and I could have taken 2 more seasons of Hound and Arya. I could have taken 2 more seasons of that. But yeah, because I mean we've been watching for how many episodes now of Arya getting her ass kicked by the waif, and they resolved this by the waif dying at the hands of Arya, and Arya getting pissed at Jaqen like a little high school girl getting mad at her boyfriend and leaving the House of Black and White.
One final thought, you know, maybe this is how it works out, and maybe indirectly, the waif was causing a bunch of problems and was going on all these missions, and Jaqen couldn't kill her because he was like, she's like their prodigy or whatever before Arya came around, and like he couldn't really enunciate it or speak it or say it when the waif was there and Arya was there, but he knew that Arya was somehow going to come up with this solution to dealing with the waif, and in the end that's really what Jaqen wanted, but he couldn't say it. He needed it to happen. I don't know if that makes any sense for anyone, but maybe that's possible.
What did Jaqen promise the waif? We didn't even get to find that out. What do you mean you promised me, Jaqen? Well, what did he promise the waif?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But,
I think we're gonna figure out more at some point. Like, it can't be over, in my opinion. That's just me.
Well, yeah, it is what it is. You know, the Bravo stuff. maybe it just requires more thought and analysis. I don't know. But yeah, we are. That was actually all the regions of this episode. It really we didn't see any of the North. Didn't actually see too much of Meereen. Saw a little bit, but I'm hoping next episode is going to be great, and I expect it to be. And I'm still worried about Davos. You need to live, Davos. But yeah, so we're going to give final ratings here for this episode. We'll start with Moejii.
Okay. Well, our ratings. Say that again, James.
Yeah, your ratings. Your ranking for the episode. Your rating for the episode. Out of 10.
Last night I gave it a flat 5, but after watching it for the third time, I am going to give this episode a 6.5. I've warmed to a couple of things. I really enjoyed Jaime's scenes and appreciated what's going on in King's Landing, so I jumped it up a little bit.
Kyle, what'd you give the episode?
Yeah, I watched it before times now, and I'm probably going to watch it again because I'm still going to do a breakdown of my own. I'll give it a 7. I mean, obviously, me and you have been championing the Lady Stoneheart thing, and I don't think it's going to happen. I still hope it does, and with all the references to Lady Catelyn and stuff. But I thought there were some really good moments. I'm of the Feast for Crow stuff that I enjoyed, the Jaime stuff is really the stuff I enjoy. So I've been happy that they've been really nailing that the past couple episodes. So I'll give that some solid props. A little bit disappointed with the Arya stuff, but overall, I'm happy that Dany's back in Meereen, and I think that this episode was another setup episode for episode 10. We're getting 70 minutes in episode 10, so I enjoyed it. I'm lukewarm on some of the stuff, but I really enjoyed the Hound scenes and whatnot. So I'll give it a 7.
I think this is gonna be kind of like a revisionist episode. If things become clear later or they still don't, then it could range anywhere from like a 5 to a 7, I guess.
It's incomplete almost, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to give it. Yesterday I was going to go into the review giving it a 6. I drank a little bit, ended up giving it a 7. I don't know. I'll give it a 6.25, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to rate this episode. I think we just kind of got to wait and see.
I think I said 6.5, but I meant a 6. I jumped up 1 point. I didn't jump up 1.5 points. I jumped up 1 point, guys. I correct myself. I give it a point more for some Jaime stuff.
I think we're all, because I know like Kyle, you're generally more even more positive. So I think we can definitely see that there was definitely some flaws in this episode. I mean, like I said before we got on, not every single episode can be a gem. They might have peaked too early this season. Hold the Door was like the crescendo, and right now we're kind of falling down. It's like we're like in a parabola where we're kind of just falling down right now. Hopefully, this last couple episodes bring it back up because I just want to watch good television, to be honest.
Well, putting the Hold the Door episode is the 5th episode in the middle. That was monumental. They basically made it so hard for us to like any other episode after that that's not going to be a battle scene, because that was such good writing. They shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have made Hold the Door episode 5. They should have moved it up to about episode 7.
That episode was up there with Hard Home for me. Me and James were talking earlier, and I'm like, that's got to be in the top 5 episodes in the series, even if not the top 3. And I was like, well, the moment that hurt me the most is probably the beheading of Ned, and then shortly after that is definitely Hodor holding the door. So I completely agree with Moejii on this one. The way they've kind of structured the episodes this season, we've been spoiled. Don't get me wrong. I think the season is fantastic. I just feel like there's certain moments that should be mixed and matched in different spots.
Yeah. So guys, we're gonna wrap this up. If you I have Moejii's and Kyle's channels in the description box. It's the link there. You can just easily click it. So subscribe to them. They're good guys. I'm glad you guys could join us. If you like this review, hit the like button, share it on social media, and subscribe. Until next time, adios.